The garden is the main showpiece of anyone's gameplay in Grow a Garden. And while some gardens are massive, some don't exist, and some are absolute abominations, in the end, we gotta put everything into terms and find out what makes the perfect garden. So in this video, I'm going to be hopping a few servers and rating people's gardens to see which gardens are worthy of being called good and which ones just suck. So at the moment, we are on my alt account, and honestly, I feel like we're gonna have to rate our own garden in a bit. Actually, we'll just rate it to explain how I'm going to be rating these gardens. So first of all, there are going to be 3 factors that I'm going to base a garden off. Each factor is having a rating of 1 to 5 stars for a total of 15 points per garden. So first of all, this is the rating that you see, the rating of how the garden itself actually looks. So this is if it looks clean, if it looks messy, what cosmetics it has, and for a garden like mine, this would not be a very good rating, because first of all, my garden, while has a kind of nice whole look to it because the amount of coconuts it has, it in the end is very messy. You can barely traverse through it. The pathway in between is literally blocked off by a big mango, and this really does suck and makes my garden a lot worse. And yeah, while it has a lot of massive crops, that's going to be a part of a different rating that I'll talk about later. But say the least, this garden barely has any cosmetics. If I go into my cosmetic storage, I have 1 cosmetic place at all, which is really bad. And to start off that, we might as well pop a couple of these crates to see what I can get. Let's just use this Oasis crate, get ourselves a map. You really expected that. Then get ourselves a night fence and get ourselves a swing set. And also, we'll be popping 3 of these paradise eggs throughout the video, so watch until the end to see them all be popped. But if I were to rate my garden, it's a little bit bland. While it does have a kind of large structured look to it, pretty unsatisfying and kind of ugly. So I'm going to rate this a 2-star rating. It's not like anything too bad, but at the same time, it's not very good because it has like no cosmetics. So the second rating is, how OP would the garden be? Now this is looking at what kind of plants it has. If it has limited plants, how good would they theoretically be? How much would I be able to make? And how are the plants placed in general? So first of all, if I look at my garden here, a lot of the garden is pretty obscure. So stuff like lightning strikes and meteors would have a pretty hard time hitting all of these plants. But basically, for my garden at least, there's just a lot of coconuts, while a lot of stuff is actually being pollinated. And we have a nice amount of sugar apples and just prismatics in general. So if I were to rate my garden on efficacy, while it does not have any limiteds, I'm going to go with like 3.5 stars, which is kind of bad honestly. But that's because gardens can get a lot better than this. And finally, what footprint do they make on the server? This is kind of a combination of both last 2 categories, but it just, well, how insane does the garden look? If I keep on going backwards here, you might realize that the garden is massive. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy. It means that while it doesn't have that many limited fruits, I'm still going backwards. It literally overhangs those shops over there. I'm going to rate it 4 stars, but I do feel like there are probably better gardens than just this chaos. So in the end, this is a 9.5 out of 15 garden, which isn't the best, but at the same time is not the worst. Yeah, we're going to be going to a public server soon, but first of all, let's pop one thing. That thing is our first paradise egg of the video. Let's see, what does this give me? Hopefully it's something good, because I've only been getting like bad stuff, and I got a capybara. That's a bit new, and it's a lot rarer than the peacock that I've been getting. I'll just check out what it does at the end of the video. But we need to go undercover because I do have some kind of good stuff here, and I don't want it to get stolen. But right before we join public servers, I do want to ask you guys to please subscribe, because Grow a Garden is quite a new game to me, and because of that, the YouTube algorithm has absolutely no idea of my existence, and well, as a consequence of that, nobody watches my videos. So if you guys can please just subscribe, comment and like, that would mean a lot and help me in creating more gardens and making my garden have a lot more cosmetics. So let's start off by just joining a completely random Grow a Garden server. So here's my noob garden, and this would literally just be a 0-star garden because there's nothing there. But let's go around, and this is the first garden that we'll look at. It is Lover of Walls Garden, and let's see, 237 million coins at the moment, and I can already see a small bit of cosmetics, a small vibe. Let's look at aesthetics. No trespassing, that's the one side that there is, and a couple of these paths. And right here we do see lilacs, which do seem kind of limited because you can't get them anymore. a Rafflesia, which is new, a Tanning, and we also have a Moon Mango tree, which is a limited. This is actually something that costs 1 billion coins to plant, which is pretty crazy. And this garden in general feels kind of small, but it does look kind of clean. Everything's nice and bunched up together, not too chaotic. We have a lot of dragon fruits around here, a lot of coconuts, which are kind of spammed, 1 beanstalk. And honestly, if I go to aesthetics, well, this isn't the craziest, the best garden. Well, there's a lot of gardens on the server. This garden, while it isn't special, at least it's clean. So I'm just gonna go for a middle of the road 3 stars, which I'd say is the mid one. It's kind of pleasing to the eye, but let's go on to how effective this thing is. So first of all, we have like 1 mango tree, as I can see here. We have a moon mango, which is pretty good, which instantly bumps up the rating. We have a few apples, a few grapes, an insane looking amount of peppers, 1 cacao, a lot of coconuts, a couple of dragon fruits. And this honestly kind of seems like a new account to me. It doesn't seem like it's the most crazy, even though it's literally older to buy because it has moon mango. It's not the most effective. If I look at my garden, which I rated 3.5, so I'm going to rate it a 2.5, even though it has a limited. Finally, what footprint does it make on the server? And if I zoom out here, it feels kind of average. It's not the most special garden. And honestly, yeah, the moon mango really does carry for this guy. I'm going to rate this a 2 star out of impactfulness. So we have a complete middle of the road 7.5 out of 15. It's kind of mid. So let's go on to the next garden. Guess 1337, the person with the most amount of money in the server. Let's take a look. So first of all, we have immediately an entrance, which honestly I haven't seen any of those except that one. And this is pretty interesting. We have a couple of limited pets here. It looks kind of nice. And well, this place is a little bit small, just a couple of tomatoes. It might be a harvest farm, a lot of strawberries, a nectarine tree, a rosy delight, which I've never ever seen, which definitely is limited. And in aesthetics, it's quite a light garden. And honestly, you have like 3 ember lilies, and I kind of do like the aesthetic of just there barely being anything. It's kind of different than just absolute spam that you can also see here. So for that, I will rate it a 3.5 because I do like the use of all of these cosmetics here. So let's go on to efficacy. Now this garden, I didn't even realize this. That's why I put the rating up kind of high. It has a couple of moon melons here, which they're also limited. They also can't sell for a lot. And we do have, of course, fair share of prismatics. We have 4 ember lilies and 2 beanstalks. That's quite a lot here. We even have an appraised one, which I'm not going to steal. I don't have Robux on here. But anyway, this garden looks like it could make a pretty good book because of the fact that it has quite a lot here. I'm definitely going to rate it maybe a little bit higher than that because it does have a couple of more prismatics. While it isn't the greatest, I'll just rate it a middle kind of 3 stars. So finally, impactfulness. And well, because of the fact this garden's a little bit more mid and more aesthetic where he left. What I was about to say is that it looks like a little bit more of a mid and aesthetic looking garden. I'd say a 1.5 because it's not that large. You don't really notice it. It's an 8 out of 15 garden. A slightly above the kind of mid 7.5, which I'd say would be average. So let's get on to this garden here, Liv's garden. And if we look at the very entrance of this place, it does kind of have a nice vibe to it. First of all, we have an entrance here of 2 of these lanterns. We have a gates, which yeah, I kind of do like the vibe of this. We do have a kind of more clear outlined walkway with a lot of these gates here. We have this weird moon hex thingy, which is a bench, which I'm not sure if that's the best bench position. But this garden is pretty clean in general. There is a defined floor here. There's not too much fruit spam. And honestly, because of that, this garden has a, well, not fully barren vibe. It at least isn't fully empty. So because of the fact that I like the use of cosmetics, 4 stars is what I'll rate this part of it. As we haven't seen the most gardens, if we continue this series, I might start becoming a little bit more harsh on my rating because I actually really haven't seen much. A bit dumb that I'm doing this because this is pretty subjective. So anyway, efficacy. How OP is the garden? So we do see 1 beanstalk, 2 beanstalk, 3 beanstalk, a kind of small amount of stuff here in general. We see some insanely sized dragon fruits here. We do see a loquat and a couple of kiwi trees. We see quite a lot here and a few mangoes and feijoa. While this isn't the craziest garden, and as you can see, it does seem like this person is kind of hostile, not very friendly. Let's rate it a 3 star because it seems to have a similar amount of prismatics to the one that just disappeared. And finally, impactfulness. Now this is definitely better than the 1.5 star that we got off the other garden because that was a little bit small. It's kind of a bit less dense than the other garden. It has no moon mango. I'll rate it a 2-star. I'd rate 1.75, but I'll round it up. So in total, well, this garden owner seems to be a bit rude. This is a 9 out of 15. Currently the best I've seen out of public servers, close to mine. Probably because I wanted to rate my garden a little bit less. Alright, we have a hit of a garden. This one looks like it isn't tiny, so we can actually rate it. So we have Notmills garden. Judging by the avatar, hopefully it's not another hostile person. Let's see. So first of all, for aesthetics, we have a couple of stepping stones right here. We have a nice looking walkway. We have a bench at the end, a pallet, a light. This garden looks a little bit more like a garden. It's not too overgrown and unkempt. And let's see. Let's rate stuff like the plants. Now, I do kind of like the way that each kind of tropic level or whatever is a bit distinguished. So first of all, we have kind of the low layers, the mid trees, and the massive coconut trees, which I kind of do like about this. It's kind of clean, and as I can see, there does seem to be a small amount of decoration going on. So I guess I'm going to rate this, while it doesn't actually have the most decorations, 3.5 stars. Not the worst, but definitely a lot better than some gardens like this one with completely no decor. It's a completely inhospitable mess. Now, efficacy. How OP is this thing? So we do have a lot of more mid-tier seeds and stuff, apples, and a lot of strawberries. I'm not sure if it's for harvest farming. This seems like the more mid-effective garden. We do have a bunch of bamboo. It seems to be more like a showpiece than an actually OP garden, because either I'm blind or I just can't see a single prismatic in this place, which as well as it not really having any limiteds, it's quite mid. So for how effective this thing would be, I'm going to rate it a 1.5 star, because honestly it doesn't look that OP. The harvests don't look very good. And finally, how imposing in this place. And yeah, while it feels a little bit sparse, it does feel a little bit tall. So I guess I'll rate it a 2.5 because it does feel quite evenly distributed. And I guess that's this Notmills garden. 7.5 out of 15 garden, mostly hurt because of the fact that there isn't really that much OP stuff here. Now, next server. Honestly, let's just pop another one of these paradise eggs while we're here. And yeah, I've already looked at my hotbar. It's another peacock. This is like the third one I've got out of my, like, I think 4 paradise eggs that I've hatched. Alright, so we have something a little bit more interesting. 7 trillion money. I'm not sure if this person will be in the server for a while, but I think I found the garden of the owner. Actually, he's right here, and his garden's still loading in. So this garden, while it's still loading in, looks pretty crazy. Well, let's get to rating. So first of all, we have couple of pears, which I've never seen before. They must be some first generation grow garden fruit. And then aesthetics. There's a lot of tomatoes. It looks like a real life farm with all of these things here. This looks kind of unique because I don't see tomato spam very often, even though I know it's for a specific thing over there. We have a couple of honeysuckle, a couple of loquats, quite a few sugar apples. And what is the size of these sugar apples? These look broken. A lot of kiwis here, a feijoa, which is massive. And yeah, that's for aesthetics. Okay, what is the size of those tomatoes? This kind of has a real life farm looking thing. It doesn't look stupidly OP. So for aesthetics, it doesn't really have that much actual cosmetics either. 2.5 stars for the kind of nice and laid down and flat aesthetic. Now, efficacy. How OP is this garden? And well, it has quite a lot of sugar apples here. Honeysuckles, those could be good. A lot of tomatoes, which are used for harvest. It has lily of the valleys, which are new. These are quite expensive from the harvest shop. This guy just left. I'd say this is a 3-star on the efficacy. There was quite a lot of prismatics there. And how imposing is it? And well, because of the fact that it was quite small, I'd say 2 stars. And in total, that garden was 7.5, which was quite middle of the road because it didn't look that crazy, honestly. So let's move on to another garden. Keyboard spam garden. And as I can see, there is a chainmail fence, which honestly does not look very good. Looks like there aren't meant to be people in there. But we have this nice little pedestal, and we have a honey pot, as well as this other fence. Aren't that many things in this garden. Now, this garden has a kind of nice, clean look to it as well. It has a kind of sparse looking distribution of all of these trees. And wait, what did I say? This is the final one of the video because I've been rating like so many gardens here. This place is a 2.5 star garden because while it doesn't have that much cosmetics and it's a little bit empty looking, it's not the worst. How OP is this garden? So let's just immediately start looking for prismatics. We have like one Feihoa. Yeah, prismatics is one thing this guy couldn't get. So as well as the kind of lack of OP limiteds, this garden is definitely 1.5 stars because it's kind of bad. Finally, how imposing it is. And again, there is this like massive tomato tree, but I'd say it's maybe a small bit more imposing than that garden that we saw last time. 2.5 stars. So let's rate QWERTY Keyboard Spam's garden 6.5 stars. Yeah, not to be rude or anything, but this is the worst rated garden we've seen in the video. And that's it for rating gardens here. Let's get this alt account out of here. And there we go. Before we summarize, let's pop a paradise egg. Ew, I don't know what is it with these peacocks and always appearing in my inventory. I'm not bothering with even equipping these. I might just sell them. And seemingly enough, within 15 studs, all pets will not lose hunger and get 3 XP every second. Sounds kind of good, but honestly, most of my pets are fully starved with hunger anyway. In this game, of course. So that was 7 total gardens ranked, including mine. And while not a lot of them looked absolutely psychotic like my garden is, where you could literally just do this and literally get to the top of Grow a Garden, I'd say those gardens were, I guess, the average baseline, because those were the only ones I've seen. And if you guys support these videos enough, please do, because it would be a lot more interesting to see some more gardens that people have cooked up in these public servers. Maybe in future videos I'll hop public servers for crazy ones. But anyway, please like, subscribe if you guys want to make yourselves a complete 15 out of 15 garden. And well, goodbye.